and welcome to this Product Domain Session 2 as part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit Valencia 2024. Thank you for joining. My name is Andre and I will be your technical moderator today. Today's session is titled Regulations Drive Business Processes, an example from Europe. The speakers for the session are Kai Oberste-Ufer, Senior Manager of Digital Planning at dormakaba, Michel, Bohren, CEO at CRB, Justas Lauzikas, Digital Product Center Lead at Georg Fischer, Espen Schulze, Group Vice President Research at Co-Builder, Petr Vokoun, CEO and Founder at Beam Project, Robert Heinze, CTO at Relax Informatik AG, and Radboud Baayen, Manager Standards and International Relations at Ketten Standard Construction and Engineering. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to the speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For the attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum. And if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise a hand and use a microphone. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of antitrust code of conduct. And now I would like to hand over to Kai.
Very good, very good. Yes, thank you very much. And it's an honor for me to be the starting speaker here for this second session of the product domain. And we have 30 minutes, a bit more than yesterday, but for those of you who joined yesterday, also I have some additional slides, so to keep the tension high from yesterday, now you will see a bit more details here. Product domain, product data exchange, important topic. A lot of sessions during this summit are around European legislation, regulations, standards, and our presentation from Germany goes into that direction, but looking more from the side of the application of these standards. So not setting the guidelines, but following the guidelines. And we are here with a kind of proposal, discussion, how we can set it up to bring it to life. So this, what I'm going to show you in the next couple of minutes, is a basis for discussion, is our invite to start the discussion also in buildingSMART, whether we need something, whether we have everything, or whether there is anything missing to comply and to have an answer for how can I use the standards set by the European Commission and other bodies and bring it to life. First slide is a kind of wrap-up what is already been communicated in the past. So what we have here is a slide from Espen. Thanks for sharing this information with us. And what you see here is a very brief overview. It's a bird's eye perspective on the legislation bodies and how the systems and ideas interact together. So on the top level, you have some, for our construction industry, very relevant standards, which is the ESPR and the CPR. And both tie into the digital product passport, a big topic, and it's getting more and more precise what really is behind this issue. 1 year ago, it was like a very vague and blurry term just appearing on the horizon. But now, as closer as we progress and as closer as we come to the implementation, the more defined it gets. So we have a digital product passport that will be somehow stored in some kind of database, whether it's one database, whether it's on the manufacturer side, or whether there are some service providers. Not decided. There's a project going on. to deep dive into that one, but there will be some kind of database. And then on the other side, we have a digital technical framework now established for setting up the properties, setting up the guidelines. So we are talking here about data dictionaries, where the buildingSMART data dictionary is one possible player in an ecosystem of data dictionaries. We have data templates that define what property should be connected to what product or systems of products. And then we have a couple of other bodies and partners in the game. And this is the legislation perspective. So this is not talking about the concrete element, the concrete product, not talking about this wall or this brick, for example. It's just like setting, okay, how to describe things in general and how to bring it to the market. But then, of course, we have the world of the industry, we have the world of the design, operation, planning and installation, where engineers, where architects, where operators need to work with the data. And these different stakeholders have different interests, of course. They have different also access to this data. And of course, they have different formats or software they use. And the question is, okay, how can we bring everything together? And for that, we have created an idea, a proposal using standards established and also available, made by buildingSMART in this process. Let's start with a white screen. And what do we have? In the first instance, we have someone who needs information. This could be an architect in an early phase of design, trying to make a decision around a product. That might be also later in the process, someone who needs, I don't know, environmental information, someone who needs a design decision, who needs input because the technical matter is too complex. So we have someone who needs information, an information orderer. And he's driven, of course, by use cases. I said already, environmental thing is a use case, technical evaluation, performance. We have tendering, procurement, construction, maintenance. All these things are use cases. And no one is just looking at data because he has so much spare time. It's always connected to a use case, to some business output, to some planning value in this process. And this is determined, or these are boundaries for these use cases, boundaries for the usage of this data set by the legislation. So there are norms and regulations saying, okay, if you want to do this, you need to have this. And here, for example, this is more a proposal from our side, or this is something that is missing. I think also the standard, the governance bodies should use a format that is machine readable instead of just writing it somewhere in a PDF. Hey, you need to have these two properties, or you need the value X, Y, and that must be shorter or must be smaller than 5. They should set it up in a machine readable and evaluable format, which could be IDS. It's the perfect format to describe technical requirements, to describe standards that can be understood by a machine. But coming back to the information order, so this one has a request. It sends a request, and of course our intended format for this is IDS. So IDS is the format that on the one hand side says, okay, to which element of the building is this IDS applicable? Is it a door? Is it a window? Is it a floor, a wall, whatever? And also, okay, what requirements do I set? So what is the height, the width, the properties? All these one can be defined in an IDS. I will not go into the details of an IDS. There are a couple other sessions, technical sessions, more looking closely at the details of the implementation rules. But in general, it's important to see, okay, we can use this to describe requirements. So, and of course, these requirements are not or should not be invented by every player on its own. They should tie back into the BSCD, into a data dictionary defining the needs and defining the properties. And then on the other hand side of the chain, we have a manufacturer, for example. We have a planner, we have an expert, an engineer who receives the information request, and her job is now to do something with this request. And normally, and I'm coming from the manufacturer side, so we have a couple of systems to help us do specification for doors, do planning for doors. They are not necessarily coming from the engineering or from the construction side. So, for example, we don't use any BIM software for planning, but we use more CD, CAD tools. We use technical tools to do deep specification, deep engineering of these doors. So we have special software, and this special software, of course, is connected to our own product database internally, but maybe in the future also to some public available databases. So if you look at the idea around the digital product passport, which is simply another way of saying, okay, these are the criteria for a special product. They can be stored in one or multiple databases, and also these should be available in the planning software on the side of the manufacturer or expert. And then, of course, the information supplier does his job. He does engineering, answering questions, clarifying all the details that are requested by the information orderer. And he needs to provide the data back. And for this now we are coming close to the core of our proposal here. So we heard about the IFC for products. So it would be great to have an IFC for products that for example, manufacturer can use to bring back information requested by the IDS. And that necessarily doesn't mean, and why do we need IFC for products here at this site, and why don't we talk about just IFC? Because sometimes, or there are many cases where we don't want to exchange geometric information. We want to exchange just information that enriches on the side of the information requested the building, the planning. So details without geometric information. And what we also said, okay, IFC for product is maybe a few months, years in the future. We could also already use IDS for that. We know it's a bit of a misuse, but instead of just writing in the IDS, okay, I expect this value to be 5, I can also interpret it in a way saying, okay, this value is 5. So we could say, okay, yeah, we have IFC for products here, which contains numeric and geometric data, and is currently I learned yesterday it's not anymore a proposal, it's really now a project set up here at BSI, so that's really light on the horizon for us. But also in the meantime, okay, the system doesn't like the idea, I guess. Okay, now it's up and running. So in the same way as we use IDS to ship requirements, we could also use it to describe the technical facts, the technical details about the question specified with IDS. Yes, of course, we know it's a bit of a misuse. Yes, for sure. The intention was not to do using it like this, but we can. So there is a way that based on existing technology, we can use this way, or we can answer this project. But of course, we don't wanna send files forth and back, and this will solve a problem, but it will not be a perfect solution. So we need something else that steers and controls the process, kind of carrier, kind of process-oriented way of exchange the data. And for that, we have something. We have BCF. And we can use BCF as the transport mechanism, because BCF has these topics, it has assignment to people, and even more important, it has something in it that is called BIM snippet. And here we can put in informations we could put in structures, either in IC for products or at the moment in IDS. And then everything goes back to the information orderer, and you can start working on that. And why it's so important to have this process, I think, looking from the industry to be more efficient, one key factor here is time. So instead of waiting 6 weeks until someone sends me a PDF back, I think the manufacturers must be much closer tied to the process and also respond in near time, in a short time, on demands and requests coming from the specification side, coming from the planner side. And this, from my point of view, the aspect of time and answering questions is one of the most important factors when it comes to efficiency or efficiency gains in the construction industry. The draft BCF as a container. And this is the first slide I didn't show yesterday. So we have a request, we have the BCF topic, and then in the BCF topic we have a BIM snippet containing a reference soon, snippet type, and is external. And when we talk about the request, we could put here an IDS. We have an XSD for the IDS, we have a product data request, and true or false. And the same we can simply apply on the way back. So we have your provision and the same BCF topic, the same structure as before, but here we have product data, and I call it IFC for products. Not sure whether this will be the file ending, but could be. And in the meantime, we also could put in an IDS in it, or any other structure. And this is something we also want to discuss. Is there anything missing maybe from buildingSMART? Is there anything missing we could put in there? We have an XSD, we have product data, so we have here not the product data request, but we bring back a product data answer. So really properties about product data, but it can be anything, to be honest, that needs an answer. Challenges and opportunities. I tried to give an overview over what is probably missing in our ecosystem, what is missing in our idea. And if you remember the slide, my first slide, or my first or second slide, the second slide, we had 3 points, 0, 1, 2. 0 is the phase before. So this is the DPP, this was in the left upper corner. Before we have any real project, this is done in advance. So we are talking here about the DPP supplier, a manufacturer. We have an information order and we have an information supplier, which can be a manufacturer or an engineer. What are these guys doing? So the digital product passport supplier, they create the digital product passport based on requirements, based on what is performance criteria, what is EPD data, and so on. The information orderer, he collects requirements and creates requirement definitions. And the information supplier at the end creates specification based on requirements. And the digital assets involved here, you see, I'm not going into all the details, but you see every one of them has dedicated technical systems they are closely related to or they are involved with. For example, normally, the information supplier as a manufacturer side, they are a bit, depending on the product type, but they are a bit far away from the core construction process. So things like CDE or IDS is normally, for many manufacturers, not a real topic. And they all have challenges, but also opportunities. So at the moment, for example, there is no format, no concrete implementation available, but it's on their way. So as a manufacturer at the moment, I cannot do anything. I'm always asked, okay, what is the format for this? Cannot answer this, but this is going to be clarified. And the question is, how could we, as buildingSMART International, be involved here? Should we contribute to this discussion around the format? Should we simply adapt it? Then we had the information order. I think there is still room for improvement to include IDS in standard software. Today we learned a lot about, or in this summit we learned a lot about that more and more software is going to implement it, but still it could always be better. And of course, IDS, we can establish it as a standard format to hand over requirements and information in the process. Not only internally, but also looking at the legislation, looking at the communication between parties and the industry. And here, of course, the last one, information supplier. I mean, yeah, IFC for products on the way, on a good way, I think. We are really waiting for it. But we have a large opportunity also for buildingSMART to bring manufacture closer to the construction process, closer to what we are doing. I think by using methods and standards from buildingSMART and adapting them to the industry, we can pull them more into our game. And we already worked a bit on how we can implement this procedure more closely, more tailored here for the door industry. So this is a process we created, how a door can be specified using some of the buildingSMART standards, what a process could look like in order to speed it up, in order to make it a bit more convenient, and also in order to being closer connected to the software used. And this, although I said this not this process ends here, but it can go further on. I will not go into the details here. I think we can share this later on. It just shows that using the standards we have, using IDS and using BCF as a communication mechanism makes sense and can already be applied on many of the processes we have when it comes to planning or data exchange with manufacturers. Very good. That's it for the moment. Questions, remarks, comments?
If there are no questions, then I would like to. Yeah, there is a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Until the solution will be available.
How many years?
Yes. 1 year, 5 years.
Honestly, everything I show is already there, except
the red points.
Except the ones related to IFC for products, which is currently in discussion. All the other ones are there, and I think it's up to us to now show examples that this is usable, and I think it's more related to marketing instead of technical availability. This is I think all there. So if you ask me, I would say from 0 to 5.
Right. Just commenting on this one because I was also investigating or developing this whole thing actually together with Kai. It is all available. We have to mention actually one fundamental downside as far as I understood. I'm not a product manufacturer. I'm more the technology guy here. The IDS is not able to transfer geometric data, right? It's only alphanumeric stuff and so on, but we have also the reference to the BSDD. And there is still a lot of puzzle pieces missing in this workflow. However, I'm pretty confident that we are able to craft a prototype, right, quite quickly. We would need to take into account that a product manufacturer would set up a BCF server, right, where we can then host also these requests and these kind of things. But the idea structure is about to be adopted in version 1. We can already misuse it. The only puzzle piece which is missing is IFC full product, but hey, let's not stop. That's exactly what the suggestion or proposal is about. Let's use what is already available if we agree and clearly communicate that it's a misusage and that it is not about geometrical data. But the feeling, and that would be maybe good to get back a feedback from the community, that this would already solve problems. And if it does, then it would be a starting point. And I have the strong feeling that it would help the whole industry at least to get started somewhere, clearly communicating what still is missing, instead of just waiting for the perfect solution. And I understand that it's surprising that this idea not to come with a perfect solution from German team is surprising. So can we have a feedback maybe from the community if that is something what you would love to see? Yes or no? Don't care?
Since I'm also part of the community, I would say yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, there's a. There was one question.
One point. Yeah, let's take time.
Well, it's not a question, it's only a... do you think that, well, let's do it like a question, okay? Do you think that a European digital product passport could help us to boost this, do you have this feeling? Yeah?
Yes, I have the feeling. My personal opinion is it's much more about creating the awareness that we are talking digital, that we are talking product passports. It's not about the okay, do we have a kind of format here? It's more about, hey, industry, they are aware that there's something happening and we need to go away from exchanging PDF. So I think it's a shift of mindset that we need for this, but also for the DPP and the digital product passport and all the digital topics the EU is setting helps us the transition of the minds of the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to welcome to the stage Michel and Justas.
Thank you very much. So we will talk about information lifecycle management, an activity proposal also from the product domain steering committee that was edited by Justas. He's also here. You will see me here on stage because Justas asked me to do it the last time. Also. So, however, good to have had the presentation from Kai up front. By the way, question about time. So, IFC for Products is a project released in buildingSMART since 1 year. So the issue we have is more that if we have a good idea and we release a project in the steering committee, we cannot implement it without support, without local support. That is something I will come back again also in my presentation, that it needs really support from chapters. Go back to the chapters, search for organizations, people that support an idea project, because a project needs funding. Before you have funding, no project manager will work for you, and then it needs a team, and then we can start implementation. So I think IC for product is ready. The project is released. We could start with the same as information lifecycle management by the way. So happy to have the presentation from Kai up front, because Kai showed a process. Great. We talked too much about technology in the BIM bubble. IFC, ICS, IDS, data dictionary, and so on and so forth. That's important, of course, because technology solves issues, but we should talk more about processes. So, one part that we see, especially talking in the product domain, that's a little bit misleading, but on the other hand, it's not that bad, because if you talk about products and material, then we talk about a lot more than what we usually do in our bubble. So we have to increase really the number of stakeholders, really to look where is product data coming from, who requests product data, where is it used, and so on, to get an idea where we can really increase efficiency and productivity if we have the right information at the right time. So that is one part. Another part is it's not about products. It's not about the digital twin. It's not as built. We're not talking about static data. We're talking about a dynamic aggregation of data. You start somewhere with specification. Then in the manufacturer's office, eventually you have engineering, you have development. That's not a product. That's not a material.
So that is stuff we care about here. So it's really about then also information lifecycle analysis to get an idea, where is the beef? So where is it really worthwhile to invest? Where is productivity increase? Is it design? Probably logistics could be interesting. 30% of material is lost on a construction site. Just lost. Waste. Probably more efficiency there than in design. So that's about the project. One part is really the life cycle stages of built environment. So that we really have to go for a broader consideration. So open the focus on specification, on engineering, on research and development, on procurement, on logistics, on e-commerce, then maintenance, replacement, repair, and so on and so forth. Really to get a broader view on the overall project. Because then we will be the first time enabled to look where do we have to really the business case, and then we can allocate resources on these business cases where we expect a big impact. So it's about relevance that we want to show up. It is a process map. We want to develop an overall process map, really involving all stakeholders. Goes in the direction what also Kai showed, that it is more design and build. Then within the life cycle stages of built environment, we have, of course, then the product life cycle. And today we have this huge topic of circular economy. That is a boost in a way, but it's not new. So products always had a life cycle. Unfortunately, in the past, quite often they became waste. So that's a new thinking. I think what is also going on in the EU currently is the right to repair. Also in the US, there is in preparation regulation, the right to repair. That is also a good boost then afterwards for support of sustainability. Then we have all the EPD requirements that we have to get somewhere. So where do we get the information? And in what use cases, in what process we really need it. Also there, it's not about thinking first how we could provide technically this information. It's much more who is using it, when, where, why, what for, from whom. What does it do with the information? Does it process the information? And does it deliver then process the information to another stakeholder? It's more about this. And then, of course, traceability and tracking of products, of material, also very important if you talk about circular economy. Question we had before, European Product Regulation, CPR. It is an opportunity. It's not a risk. It's not dangerous. It's an opportunity. So there is something coming up that will most probably support us to get the information, to think about these processes, and to really get also the impulse or the input, how it could look like. Then it starts to be technically. So how will then the data be provided and so on. There will be a lot of obligations for manufacturers, so this is part of the solution, not part of the problem. At least it gives you an idea in what way you have to provide your information and how the standards and the digital tools will look like. And then, of course, all the benefits of the standards, if you get in a regulated, standardized environment, it will be easier, really, to work with all the information. So that's also part we implement in this project. So it's an opportunity. It should support us. This is the part is very important, and it's also quite often not in the right priority in our bubble. So that we have aggregate information. We start with a generic specification of a construction product or even of a material. And then we want to evaluate products and material based on this specification. And that is dynamic. It changes. It even can change during the construction process. Even if I have chosen or evaluated the product, this can change. So if an architect or an owner decides for a specific product, it can well be the contractor changes it, hopefully with an agreement. Very often without agreement. So they stay long-term on the design, and details are subject of changes during the project.
we have no idea about how to deal with it. I represent another organization, that's ICS, it's the International Construction Information Society. These are the local standardization bodies around the world. We're working closely together with buildingSMART. We have a joint project concerning specification and this long-term design and change of content. It's difficult to find understanding within the buildingSMART community that specification is very important. This is the contract, not the digital twin. Digital twin is as built. That's a static documentation of result. That's not the contract. Yes, and some ideas and visionary strategies and so on, that you build your object before digitally before you start on the construction side. There eventually it could be that the digital twin is really the contract, but I'm not sure if that will become reality once. So that is the project plan here, rough estimated schedule. So really finalize this activity proposal, get the project approval. We are very close to the project approval right now, and then we're on the same stage as IFC for products. So we have to kick off the project. Needs then funding, project manager, and people. There would have been one slide more, but eventually I didn't send it. So he asked me, I said, no, I didn't make any changes. I did. Obviously, no problem. Because I remarked it already, we are now on this stage, so we are now also with this project really dependent from the chapters, from the whole community. We have one large organization in Switzerland, a public owner, that is interested to support it. It will not be good enough to have only one. So we need at least a starting funding to pay a project manager, to start then also talking to funders to set it up. We need a subject matter expert in business process modeling and so on. And we cannot start without some money. So please, whoever you know or yourself, tell people, ask people that they get in contact with buildingSMART International, with the product domain steering committee or whatever, that we can start to involve then interested people that want to support the project. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks. We discussed it yesterday during the dinner together with the product domain. I think that there's one party that needs to be involved in here is GS1. There's nobody from GS1 here, unfortunately. I'm the closest you get to GS1 with my history. But I think there is an MOU with buildingSMART International, and I know that they're looking for some specific projects, specific timelines, funding as well. We discussed with Aidan. I think it would be good to have them involved. They have the contacts with all the manufacturers. And we are working on a few, together with Cobalt and a few other actors, on 2 different pilots. One covering the full life cycle. That is a French proof of concept, where you see the identification part and the digital continuity. And then you've got the SEERPASS as well, the SEERPASS 2, where we are being asked to prove that a DPP could work in construction. We were very late in submitting we weren't asked, we weren't aware, very late in submitting this. And this is a project that lasts 3 years. So the learnings from that project, GS1, buildingSMART International, and the different chapters is something that I think would benefit both. And in that cooperation, I think there's a good fit. Okay?
So GS1 is for me a mandatory project member, definitely, because they have also a lot of knowledge about a lot of the processes we do not have. So if you start with procurement, e-commerce, logistics, that's GS1. Exactly, GS1. If you have a good contact, I have my local contacts, they are good, well established, but if you know somebody eventually on a little bit higher level with decision competency, we'll be happy. Good. Any other questions, remarks, inputs? Okay, then let's go further on. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to welcome to the stage Espen.
That's a risk. Okay. Good. Great. Thank you.
Magic touch. I want to pick up on something that Michel said in his presentation. I will talk about the coming new regulations in Europe. It's not a risk. I think that was well said. This is an opportunity for the industry. And this is also stated as part of the strategy called EU Green Deal in Europe. It's an opportunity to build a new economic model due to the climate changes that is happening now. So we have to act. And this is the reason for the new the revisions of some very key regulations in Europe. They have a strategy. We need to change quickly. We need to support sustainability quickly. Digitalization is identified as the tool to make this happen quickly. So digitalization is part of the Commission's, European Commission's strategy, and they implement this through the new regulations. For the construction industry, it's the construction product regulations that apply, especially on construction products. They are stating the regulation provides the necessary instruments and will ensure the exchange of compatible data in BIM systems. So they are referring to BIM. They are referring to SEM TC 442 because that's the committee in Europe developing BIM standards. They are specifically pointing to, this is not within the regulation, this is a strategy document, but still produced by the European Commission. They are specifically mentioning 3 standards, 2326, EN ISO, both of them, EN ISO 2327 and EN ISO 22057. So I went more deeply into them yesterday. I will do it quickly also today. This is relevant for EU legal framework for REACH, CPR, LVD, MD. These are different directives as the use of machine-readable data templates support the use of harmonized European norms, product standards and test standards. So the CPR is pushing for implementation of digitalization through data dictionaries. They want a machine-readable format, standardized format. So they are specifically mentioning we need a common European data dictionary. Jumping to SEM TC 442. So now that was the introduction from the regulation side. Now, what do we do in Europe on BIM standardization that can support the strategy from the European Commission? We have developed 2 standards. The one in the middle is adopted from ISO TC 59 SC13. That's a standard for data dictionaries. On top of that, we have developed 2 more standards to support the usage of data dictionaries. One of them, I will go into the first one, EN ISO 2326. This explains how to create, author, and maintain properties in data dictionaries. BIM properties, products properties. We need the domain experts to do this, the industry experts. We don't want to do this locally. Well, some might want to do it, but we as an industry, we want to use the common industry experts, the work from them. Then the standard also requires much more information for each property. Hi, Radboud. Welcome. We are not only no longer just talking about a name of a property. We need more information. We need data type, physical quantity, method of measurement, units, data validation, data creation, status. We need a machine readable grid, global unique identifier, and a lot more information. We need this to make sure that the machines can understand the information. To implement this, we have this ISO 12663 Part 3. This is the standard for implementing data dictionaries. Then we have data templates. Now we're starting to implement data dictionaries, collecting properties for objects through data templates. Back to the strategy from the European Commission. They are, as I said, pointing to 23, 26, and 87. They are also mentioning ISO 22057. That's the connection to the environmental data that now will become mandatory through the regulation, EPDs. These environmental properties or indicators, they are created by sustainability experts in CEN and ISO. These indicators is the ones that we shall use according to the regulation. We also are promoting this way of working to the CEN technical committees, the people that are producing design and product standards in Europe. So we are creating a, call it a guideline on how they can make content from product standards and the design standards digital so that we can start to use it. We don't always have to read into standards, into PDFs, to understand requirements for products, to look for test methods. We want to have this available in a digital format through data dictionaries. This is an example of a table from the Windows standard or specification for Europe, where we have the legal requirements on the left side. These are called essential characteristics, and they, by law, manufacturers has to find ways of testing their products according to the essential characteristics. On the right side here, the CEN technical committees are making a mapping from test methods to the building regulations, requirements. So this is a mapping table between requirements and product declaration that exists today in a human readable format. We need this to be digital in open European Data Dictionary. So what the Commission is, what they want, it's a European Data Dictionary where the legal requirements from the Commission is established. We need the technical expertise, the environmental expertise, the result of that to be available in a European Data Dictionary. Or data dictionaries, because we think that it will be more than one dictionary. It will be different data dictionaries for different organizations. These, they can be connected. The standards support that. So, how does this apply to buildingSMART? from IFC or IDS, you can point to any dictionary. You can point to BSDD, but you can also point directly to other dictionaries. So that's an option. It's up to the use case. You can also point to BSDD, or you can point to both. So this is an attempt from the product domain to connect what is coming from legislation in Europe to what we do here in buildingSMART. When we talk about IFC, IDS, BSDD, there's something more coming in that will affect our choices. What type of information do we need? So we are here to discuss further. I want to do one marketing campaign for the last session we have this afternoon, where you can see a demo of a requirement tool using different dictionaries, BSDD and another external dictionary, when producing requirements, and this will be exported in an IDS file that will be validated in another third-party model. So if you're interested in looking at that, it's 3 o'clock this afternoon. That's it. Questions?
Thank you, Espen. If there are no questions at the moment, I would like to hand it over to Robert, who is joining us online.
Okay, let's start. IFC for products. Yeah, this is an example. What we can do, or what should we do out of the product domain. And yeah, first slide is myself. I'm Robert Heinze. I'm CDO of Velux. We're doing lighting design software. I just skip this here quite fast. I'm a member of the steering committee, and the project which I pitch right now is also from the product domain steering committee. Yeah, and it's about a problem on in reality, on the real life, which I faced since years. And the problem is that IFC is nice. IFC is open. IFC is standardized and really great exchange format for OpenBIM. I really like it. I'm really supportive for IFC. IFC is great in visualizations. We can express the IFC in different ways, but there's one big disadvantage on IFC, that it's just defined on a complete entire building. The straightforward implementation of IFC starts with a project, with a building, with a site, and so on. And yeah, from inspired, or I was long on the manufacturer payroll, and manufacturers provide products, especially for buildings, and where I'm from. And yeah, and the issue is that you cannot deliver the technical information or the data or the product itself as a digital twin with IFC. It's not possible because it's not defined. So if you have a product in IFC, then you have a complete product structure around it. And this is not needed, and it's also not nice to exchange products in IFC environments. So if you have a building just with luminaires in it, and you have another building and you want to transfer just the luminaires, this is not easy to do. In at least in the most authoring systems I know, it's not really nice to copy the data array from project to project, from building to building. Okay, so this is the problem, and there should be also a simple solution in creating an IFC just for products. So quite simple in a way. Yeah, motivation is as a manufacturer of products for buildings. Of course, I want to have an open and digital exchange of product data. So I want to provide my data. I want to provide my products to the whole world, to everybody who's interested in. in as many applications as possible. And as manufacturer today, you can create all the proprietary formats for Revit, for Vectorworks, for Archicad. You can create all the stuff, which costs a lot of money. And there is an industry which provides you an access to all this authoring systems with some like catalog providers. For example, BIM Object is one of the biggest in Europe. But just an example, there are a lot of these catalog providers which exactly close the gap between my product data as a manufacturer and all the authoring systems which are putting your product in real life buildings, in plannings, in designs. And there are some catalog providers make promotions with spread your product data in 120 plus different formats. And this is also an indicator, okay, there are too many formats out there. And I do not want to deal with this amount of formats. This is just too much. And of course, any format has limitations in a way. So it would be nice to express this openly and freely to everybody who is in need of this data. Yeah, the solution of it is the project which I called IFC for products. This means one format for everything, one uniform, standardized product data format, one for all, not another one, just one to substitute everything else for all disciplines, all objects, all construction phases. So like IFC, just for everything. This will reduce the costs of creating the stuff and also of interpreting the stuff also by less. Of course, it will disturb the business model of this catalog providers, quite radical, but there we have a real free and open communication of these products with anything, including geometry, anything, and this would be a dream to have. And it's not so far away technically, because and solution in a way would be to use IFC, which we have natively with all kinds of products and properties as a starting point, just within short changes in the heading that do not start within buildings, that we can just directly into in product and not within building or in some kind of project. But I have to say also another limitation of IFC is that it's not cover the real life, not the real world. IFC just covers a part of it. It's a filter of the real world. So the native IFC environment covers depends on the objects of the building. So for Luminas, I know it quite well. In Luminas, we are quite good in IFC. We have photometrics in it. We have 48 properties in it of luminas, but in real life, we have up to 500 properties of a lumina in different kinds of luminas also. So this is just one lumina in IFC. And we need to extend this in a way for IFC for products, not just for IFC products. We need an extension in general. And something like BSCD, like an external object and property provider, is a great invention to allow an extension which are not natively. So if you extend the real world in native IFC, then it will just explode or not be readable at all, the theme of IFC. So we need some kind of a more clever, more external addition. And you have also maybe not just the BSD, maybe you have all kinds of property servers for all kinds of objects, for all kinds of special properties. And it's also really hard to cover it all in a database, not just in the format, also in one database, also maybe hard to reach. And that's why we need some kind of a technical structure based on product data templates, properties, creating on standards, and allow an interaction of objects and properties across property servers, down to the format, down to the situation where you need the data, that you can link to specific stuff. For example, Luminas, we have an ISO standard where we have up to 500 properties with an ID, with all the 23386 relations to a property, and this is describable and exchangeable, and then we have a nice exchange of the stuff technically. Yeah, the proof. There was an SEN standard called EN 17549. There are -1, -2, and this is was a starting point for this project, the standardization project, which comes to an end for part 2, which is stuck sadly in for the first part. This was an attempt to have an IFC-based product exchange format. In a simple way, it's just another header. We exchanged the header of the building and make a product-related header with a rich property library to allow all kinds of external exchange, but based completely on IFC4 XML. So we start with XML, but all kinds of serializations are possible. And you can have access to this structure, to this construct. We called it construction object data. Here's in buildingSMART GitHub link on the slide, and with this link, you can have by yourself an access to this format description, which is covered close to 1-to-1 in the SEN standard and allows a product exchange based on IFC. Yeah, and as said, we have a project running. We had created a product an activity proposal on our product domain called IFC for products. This is approved by buildingSMART, and now the project is waiting to be kicked off. And we had a half finished detailed project plan on this, and in this project plan we have fixed the first steps to go deeper with this IFC for products. This means a lot of use cases. We need to cross use cases with the concept. We also should compare different solutions. There are also some, let's say, legacy solutions in order to do this. Maybe some other interesting solutions we need to find out to do this, and then to have some kind of prototyping, and also some first documentation how to do this, what to do this, and later projects then can also say, okay, COD is perfect, or we need to re-extend it or recreate it, or also maybe we need something completely new. We need to find out, and this first project is just to analyze and to check if it's possible to do what we want to do with it. Yeah, and the next steps. Last slide is the call to action for this projects. We need sponsors. We need guys who wants to participate in this, especially in project leads. This project has not a project leader now, and this is also something which is possible to sponsor. You can also sponsor not just money. Money is also welcome, but it's also possible to fund personnel, like a project leader, for example, who takes the lead, who does the effort of the project plan to execute it, to plan this, to do this, and also to go deep into details with a lot of people. And if you are interested in collaborate in this project, if you're interested in something like an IFC for products, and if you have potentially ideas or use cases or funding or personnel, just contact me or one of the steering committee, and then we can go ahead with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. I would like to welcome to the stage Petr.
Okay, thanks, Robert. My task was to talk about the document from manufacturers, which is a PDF document that you will receive, so don't worry about it. And yeah, can I scroll somewhere with the mouse maybe, or you will do it? Yeah, perfect. Much better than yesterday. So I would like to actually connect a little bit with Kai's presentation and also what Robert said, because IFC for products is tightly connected to this topic. So just to recap shortly, this document was called white paper. Now it's industry report because it's a little bit longer, and the aim is to explain to manufacturers that they should take care of the data, be able to share it,
And it's not an easy task. And actually, the topic doesn't concern only manufacturer, but also those who will use it. It means also the planners and everybody else. And I think the idea of using idea structure to share the data is really, really good. Although the question is if there are some things that cannot be edited at the moment, and the question is if there should be another format or not. Maybe we can discuss. So this is just a table of contents. It's just a short explanation what is that the manufacturer should have it, and they should be able to share the data, and that normally is shared through BIM objects, but maybe it's not the best way, and the data can be shared through API. That means that you have to still pack it inside some XML JSON file and then send it to the API that uses it. So I will skip to the interesting part, which is we actually from the last conference we improved some of the parts. One of it is explaining actually here what is the attribute and what is the. Could you hide the line here at the bottom, please? Yeah. So thanks. Okay, now it stopped working. We shouldn't have touched it. So good. Okay, now here's examples of the features. So what is a feature and what is a property? That's and what is an attribute? That's very important. So attribute is actually something related to property. So the property is the amount of conductivity in this example according to certain standard, and its attribute is the name and unit and data type and so on. So that's what also Espen was talking about. So this is very important. And then the other topics of, for example, assemblies. That is something that concerns products that are made of other products. And this is definitely not included in the IDS, but maybe it could be. So from my perspective, from my experience, sometimes it's better to do like different file like projects and related in some ideas, but maybe it could be one thing in the future. So I think we could keep discussing this to proceed here, because if we start the IC for products with some basics that we can not start from scratch, it could be a good thing that we can start basically very fast testing things if it works and so on. So hopefully we'll find a project manager and run some ideas and flow further. Yeah, there's also things like calculation formulas. So some of the products are custom made. There are lots of things that needs to be calculated. So the manufacturer doesn't provide a final solution, but for example, a formula or recipe or something like that. So that's actually fits to the concrete and glazing and stuff like this. So there's lots of type of products, and with each of them you have to think about differently a little bit how to provide the data and what's actually the final result. Yeah, then there's updates. That's actually technical, but we are explaining that manufacturers should take care of the updates in the database. So they usually delete it when they don't they discontinue it, which is a good idea, because if you have it already on site, you should be able to find it after a couple of years even. So that's something they should be careful too. Showing the data, that's like commonized. It could be done through Excel file. It could be done by sending through email, but alternatively is send it through API and check it automatically and stuff like that. So we'll be very happy if you, after you receive the document, comment on it. It's the first version that will be public, and it's meant to be commented and improved and so on. And the idea behind all this, behind the activity is that manufacturers will start doing something. Most of them are waiting for some activity in governments. From my experience, they are waiting for some law that will tell them they have to provide some data to maybe European database or whatever. But they don't realize that it will take them sometimes years to get it to put it together and to be able to share it. So it doesn't actually matter if they start putting it on paper or in Excel file or in a system, if they just start. So that's the reason this actually exists. Okay, and last thing, there is an example of the database mapping. If you think about it, if you're a manufacturer and have a product with 20 properties, and there are different data dictionaries, they should be somehow connected or mapped, because otherwise you would have to provide a set of the data for each of the dictionaries, and that's not convenient. So usually the properties should match one-to-one. Sometimes they don't. So maybe BSDD will solve this problem, maybe not. So that's another discussion we can have to end this. But this is just explanation how the mapping works. That there's an idea of property in one database, and the second database doesn't have to be the same, but it is the same. Okay, so I'll be happy for comments now, or maybe later, but now it's better. So, can you reflect, please? Is it at least clear what we are trying to do here? Or, yeah. Thank you. We will send it over. It has gone through a couple of revisions. After the lesson, we had a couple of comments. Kari actually was so kind to add another chapter at the end. It's called the maturity, so it will make more sense in the global perspective. And now it's basically ready to go public. Yeah, or if you want to be 100% sure, you can get back to me. I will send it over. That could be like an advantage being here in person. So, yeah. We appreciate that you came, so that could be your prize. So, okay, so regarding comments, I'll pass to.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I would like to welcome to the stage Radboud.
Yeah, Radboud. Okay. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Oh, I got more time left than yesterday. That's a bonus. And of course, we're gonna get my slides. This is a teaser session for the session of this afternoon. I'm delighted I will be the last one before your lunch, but you know there's lines outside, so we got all the time in the world. So Espen was talking about the standards. We have been seeing what Robert is trying to do on the level of product information, what Petr is doing, and I'm trying to combine those things a little bit. So let's see if the button works this way, because it's nice that we have a data dictionary or multiple data dictionaries. In this arena, we're talking about the buildingSMART data dictionary, which can contain content. But how do we know this content is reliable? Because anything can be put in there. That's the way of working in an open environment. So how do we know if it's reliable? Here we go. So I tried to create a little animation here. So we got the BSD on top, and there's multiple data dictionaries in there. So in this case, it's classifications, specifications, it's IFC, it's ETIM, which is an article classification for products. But the only thing buildingSMART is managing actually is IFC. The other ones are all coming from the outside in. So what are the rules that we're going to set? There's combination references in between. The only thing that buildingSMART actually can say something about at the moment is, okay, we got a structure, and this is the way you have to put your data in there, because otherwise it will not fit. That would be difficult. But there's multiple sources in the outside world that we don't have control over as our open environment. That could even be, which is what we have done with the SFB, we have a source that actually publishes somewhere in a data dictionary, and from there goes to the buildingSMART data dictionary, because that's the current way that we can actually use it. I will elaborate on this in this afternoon. And we actually have a demo on this, on how that now works. So underneath the source is a governance structure. So there's guidelines, there's standards that are being used to create this data. So for SFB, that's a different story, because it's a classification that was built in 1947. But we do have an organization to go with it to make sure that we actually can tell the world how we manage it, so they can know if it's reliable and if it's stable over time. So if I put some numbers next to it, I will go down on them. So what we have with BSD, I summarize it to store and connect. So basically it's made for mappings, it's for connections, but it's also a database, so you can put stuff in there. It's open, available, retrievable data, fantastic. Works, and there's publication rules, which is only on the data structure at the moment. So the source data, it can have content, but it has reference connections and alternate publication platforms, but it has maybe connections that are not being able to upload to BSDD, because the one rule that BSDD, that buildingSMART sets, is it should be open data. But there are proprietary systems out there, like for instance, specification system with references to an open classification, but we cannot upload those because it's not open, it's proprietary, it's our business basically. But still, it's relevant. It's for the industry. It's relevant information. So what we do with the management data, management guidelines, which basically Espen was also talking about, is what are the rules, what are the standards, and this governance of data domains initiative actually talks about what should be the metadata structure to be able to make it transparent how this is done. And this is for managing the guidelines for the rules itself, and also for the organizations. I will elaborate on this again this afternoon, because this is a teaser. I'm going way too deep already. So if you take, for instance, the 23386, which is a ISO standard for how to model properties for products, you might say we could use one to model metadata for our governance of the data that's being published somewhere. So it will be machine interpretable. So to summarize, there are a couple of initiatives, and governance of data is one of them, which has shown focuses on how it's done. Again, from the French chapter, buildingSMART chapter, there's an initiative on how to create a data dictionary, verify it, validate it, and again with what kinds of things to check. So that's and they have a tool to go with that. So that could be a nice combination to bring those together. That actually came in early this year. That's why we have postponed our activity proposal to be published. We have to see where the combination is. Well, why are we doing this? Of course, there's so many data sources out there. So who to trust and what to trust? What am I looking at, which is important. So transparency, quality, reliability is all about data being used over the course of time. And how well, that's hopefully, we will put these pointers in the activity proposal. And when we get a project proposal approved, then that will mean that we can go into working out how we should do this and how we should fill it in. So if you want to know more, come back this afternoon.
Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you for attending, and we're looking forward to seeing you at other events of the summit. Thank you.